Yo. Hi there, this is Arakai Moon with Star Siren Astrology coming to you in this incredibly potent, highly precise, masterfully cultivated new moons and Virgos. We have the Sun, Mercury, and the new moon all conjuncting in Virgo. It's opposing Neptune in Pisces. And we have this Grand Earth Trine activating our potential for creating. We have Saturn and Mars going direct, actually moving forward. People, we have all the creative potential here. All the momentum of actually being able to move forward and create and actualize these big dreams that we've had. And I feel like the power of Neptune being there in Pisces is all of this really calling you into your spiritual potential? Is that work? Are the routines? Everything is what you are grounding here on Earth, actually bringing you into deeper connection with your spirit. You have these highly opposing forces of Neptune and Pisces, this dreamy, intuitive, like I said, reality, veil dropping energies, opposing this highly analytical, this again masterful, detail-oriented, work-oriented archetypes of Virgo. And I've seen this play out in my own life of waking up and just being whoa, these dreams, these spiritual callings have been written down and talked about for years and years and years, and I've lost hope. I've gotten lost in how do I actually make this something that happens? How does this actually come down from the potential realms of my dreams and my fantasies and into actionable steps, into something that I'm living in and experiencing in. And as this energy moved into Virgo, I woke up and I was oh my god, it's fucking doable. I can do this. Here's how to do it, and I'm doing it every day. And so I feel it in my own life, that bridge between fantasy and this intangible knowing and calling is being brought down into steps, is being brought down into 5-year plan, everyday plan, that sort of thing. And we also have Saturn and Mars moving direct. So how is the journey that we've been on with Saturn and Mars in retrograde, everything that's been working out and refining inside of us and what we're creating and how we move forward, how is that supporting these dreams of Pisces and this actionable, work-oriented, precise energy of Virgo? Also, I'm going to be speaking about the Grand Trine that is giving us another Grand Earth Trine, 2 in a row. When does that happen? All coming together to give us the grounding, to give us this momentum. And stay tuned, because at the end, I want to speak into something that's going to get real personal, that's going to get real soon when Venus moves into Scorpio. And she's about to embark on a really deep and dark and transformative journey. And wherever Venus is and whenever she's going through a transformative journey, it really comes home for us. It really comes into affect the things that we hold closest. It touches our bodies, it touches our relationships and our money and our home. So I really want to speak a little bit about Venus moving into Scorpio and how that's going to affect our values and our worth and our relationships. So stay tuned. So now let's take a look at the deeper layers and nuances of this new moon that make this new moon's soil extra rich, extra potent, and ready for our seeds. I think in this new moon, the intentions and the planning and the actions and the preparation, the detoxification and purification and refinement of these prayers and refinement of these dreams that are getting planted and tended and watered throughout the course of this new moon and the time leading up to it, I think are going to be extra blessed. And all the energies that are there that are actually supporting these seeds of intention to take root and sprout and grow and eventually fruit and eventually like share the fruits of this. So I say all that to really stir and prepare the like soils of our hearts to be able to like hear like where we are in the cycle and to truly like be invited into like, okay, let's like, it's game time, let's get real, let's like get in and like listen in on what we be ready to create and like start moving. And touching back into the axes of Virgo and Pisces, we have the sun and the moon and Mercury, all internal planets, all planets really dealing with our ego, our emotions, our mind, and the way that we communicate. And so this is a lot of like egoic fuel that is like really in the realms of Virgo, being opposed by this collective like huge body of Neptune, this like outer force coming in to challenge. And that Virgoian part that's like, get practical, get real, I want to work, I want to be detail oriented, and I gotta like, this is right, this is wrong. Like, you know, you can get super, like I told my love like right at the beginning of the Virgo season is like, okay, like I'm having a lot of drive to get things done and like this huge push to do it, and it's like fully invited. I'm ready to actually get shit done. And yet that when the moon goes into Virgo, that I have a tendency to compulsively get things done, to like really focus on my body and focus on my visions and my work, and just like sometimes overwork and like get too hypercritical about the things that I'm trying to like weed out. I call it the glitch in the software program. When we have too much Virgo, or Virgo in her shadow essence, it feels like there's a glitch in the software. It's like this is right, this is wrong. Oh, I see a flaw. And then it starts to like focus in on that, and that starts to like weed out and trip out, you know? So knowing that potential or that tendency with me as a Virgo rising, I can get too into purification, too into my work, that I become like hypercritical and overwork myself. And that actually is the tendency that detriments the potency and the power of Virgo. Because where it starts to squelch the spirit, or it starts to become self-critical or almost sadistic in a way of like weeding out one's impurity and honing in on one's flaws, on the things that we're working on, that can really contort the ability to connect and the ability to have like the true meaning and the true spirit of what we're doing really shine through and really feed us in return. So it becomes this kind of like martyrdom, or this like this este mi trabajo, like this, it is my work, it is my duty kind of experience, instead of allowing that polarity of Pisces to really infuse that work, so that our service and our work becomes this spirit-filled offering, you know? So Neptune is really there to question our reality. Like Virgo is like, I'm analyzing, I'm compartmentalizing, I know what is right, I know what is real. Like Neptune is there to be like, are you sure that's real? Like reality drop, illusions drop. Like where are those deep fantasy? Neptune is bringing in this capability of spiritual fulfillment and connection and reaching beyond the veils of fantasy and dreams, and like, how do we really want to live on this earth, right? But it's testing that part of our Virgo that is creating structure and routines in our life, and that is working and focusing on like, are you truly focusing on the things that are spirit-filled, on the things that are truly authentic to your nature, to your desire to be devoted, you know, to be in relationship with the divine in some way, in whatever way that looks for you. This is a really powerful way to get tested, because it allows that Virgo to tap into the dreams, to tap into the intuition and into the spirit and the feeling of why it's doing what it's doing. You know, like, why are we doing what we're doing? Like, is our daily life and our routines reflecting that which our spirit so deeply longs for? And simultaneously, that Virgo is like opposing, you know, the Neptune part of us that could get lost. It could get lost in fantasy and illusion. And it could have these massive dreams that are like bigger than us and bigger than reality. Like, and it's asking how, Pisces, how Neptunian part of you are you bringing it into life? Are you every day finding a way to actualize that? And so these are really powerful polarities of spirit and connection and dreams and intuition and emotions and this realm of like magic and wonder, and this Virgo that's like, yeah, bring the wonder and the dreams and the like sacred into the chop wood, carry water, into into the harvest, into the work, into the body, into something that we can really feel and house inside of this physical human experience. And we're getting an extra surge of, like I said, Mars and Saturn moving direct. They've been retrograde for months. Saturn went retrograde in April. So like our spring energy of wanting to create these things and like actualize and become authors of our life has been really challenged, you know, in a time of like growth and expansion by Saturn, like cutting it down. So like Saturn to me is like the pruner. He's the tester. And so in this moment of spring where we want to blossom and we want to bloom, like Saturn's been like clipping and pruning. And so this is a time of really like, okay, like we've been pruned down. We've been like really refined and challenged of all the places inside of us that like hinder us from like really being those authors and really creating in our life. And now it's moving forward. So now is the time to like, okay, can we start blossoming? Like, can we really like share our gifts? Can we really be like step into that authorship? Like, well, we can't with that kind of voice. Like, we gotta like step forward September 6th and on into the voice of like, oh, now it's time to blossom. Now it's time to create. And like this refinement, this pruning, this cutting back and testing, thank you, Saturn, and a little bit more expansion, a little bit more responsibility, a little bit more opening into that expression. Mars is the part of us that like moves forward in the world, and it's been retrograde, you know. And I have a really beautifully long and in-depth video about Saturn and Mars in retrograde and just what that all means. What are retrogrades? Anyways, if you want to learn more, take a look at the link below. But right now I'll say that September 10th, the day after the new moon, Mars will be moving direct, where we will be retracing the steps of the first 9 degrees of Aquarius, of where it started going retrograde before June 26th. And so this is time where we're still retracing some of the steps. You know, Saturn's still moving back through those early degrees of Capricorn. Mars is still moving back through those early degrees of Aquarius. And so some of the things that came up in mid-April and mid-May and June and July that we've been like working through are gonna potentially come up again. But fear not, it's not we're back there. It's a new layer of that refinement and of that growth to aid us in actualizing those dreams. And so this is a really powerful energy to meet us at this new moon in Virgo with this Virgoian earth energy of actualizing and tending, you know. And it's also being accompanied by this Grand Earth Trine. And so to have 2 Grand Earth Trines in a row, this time it's with Mercury in Virgo and Saturn in Capricorn and Uranus in Taurus. And so we have this powerful Earth Trine that's also there to like, hey, all of this energy is in full support. The Earth Trines, I feel like, are these like pyramids, these conduits of energy, where all of those energies are not disjointed and like kind of compartmentalized in the chart, but they're like actually activating one another. and it's all in Earth. And so it's all in like time to wake up, time to move forward. Like anything you've been procrastinating with, time to move forward with this. So I want to say like take those dreams, take those hopes, and take all the emotions of everything that was like triggered over the past few months of like whatever breakups or, you know, quitting your job or moving houses or like the frustration or the hopelessness, the depression or whatever has happened over the past few months. Like take time to reflect before this new moon, because we're still in that kind of like, you know, it's building momentum, but we're still kind of in that space of slow build. And it's a real perfect time to like channel all of that emotion, all that confusing energy or the energy that was blocked, and like draw it back into the center and be like, okay, go. Like it wasn't time then, but it's time now. And like where am I going? What else needs to be released? Why have I been being challenged in this way? Ask yourself, like, have I made the changes that these retrogrades were asking me to make? Like, have I allowed these blocks and these delays to bring up emotions? Have I allowed that to be processed? Have I allowed that to even be brought into my consciousness? So like taking time to feel all that and know that it like had a purpose. So kind of like sometimes it's hard to see the ceremony we're in when we're in it. But then when you like rise to the surface, it's like, oh, that's the ceremony I was in. Like, okay, so that's the ceremony we've been in. Like, I'm here to tell you it now. And so this is a time of really allowing yourself to be deeper refined in this journey, and then start to like actually build towards creating foundations that support all of that change, that support all of that liberation or all of that like healing that was brought up during these eclipses and during these retrogrades. And the last but not least, I want to touch in on Venus's journey. Right now she's on the way to embark into a highly deep, transformative shadow journey of the underworld. And right now she's in 25 degrees Libra. And why that's important is right now she is moving into Scorpio, and she'll be in Scorpio all of September. And then October 8th, she'll move retrograde all the way back to 25 degrees Libra, and then move all the way back through again. So this 25 degrees in Libra kind of marks the moment where it's like, pay attention. Like all of this that we experience in this next month from September 3rd till October 8th is what we will be traversing back through, like forwards and backwards. And so pay attention to what arises, to what deals, you know, you make, what relationships and emotions arise inside of this time, because we will be retracing those steps. We'll be taking a deep amount of time to really work out these degrees of 25 degrees of Libra and all the way through Scorpio. And I will also have a really in-depth, thorough, beautiful video about Venus's journey in through Scorpio and about the retrograde, and also about how Jupiter is there, like Jupiter's last months of being in Scorpio. Jupiter moves out of Scorpio and into Sag in November, and so these are the last months that Jupiter will be in Scorpio. And so it's a really powerful moment that Venus moves into Scorpio to meet up with Jupiter right at the tail end of his like grand year of a ceremony, because Jupiter brings a lot of expansion and like I said, like a magnifying lens to the realms of Scorpio. Brought up a lot of collective awareness around power and sexuality and privilege and all of these things that we've been really working with, and it's been hitting us hard in a very collective way, but Venus moving into Scorpio brings it in a real way, like in a real personal way, because Venus deals with our home, our body, our relationships, our money, and our self-worth. And so something as like sensitive as self-worth is really powerful when for one, it's going retrograde. It's going that back and forth, that really digging in and refining and challenging of that. And it's also in Scorpio, which adds this like alchemical fire, this like deep wells of our subconscious and our deep and burning desires. So like deep desires of sexuality and deep desires of power and deep held emotions, and I would say really deep subconscious things are going to rise to the surface regarding your value and your worth, regarding like your sexuality and your relationships. And so, if you're in a relationship, Venus in Scorpio going retrograde, it's a time of like, be graceful with one another, be like humble and be honest, because Scorpio also, it's like it wants to deep dive and it wants to be that penetrating like psychoanalysis, like really getting to the nitty gritty, but like also that's intense and that brings up vulnerability and that's humbling. So Scorpio can also have a tendency of like holding its cards too close and like not being fully honest with its deeper processes. So really a time of like, excavating parts of us that have been hidden and allowing that to be like shared and revealed, especially with our loves and our deep like intimacy. And this is a time potentially too of relationships of money and power and business, because Scorpio rules are like shared resources and finances. It rules power, it rules sex, money, and power. So it's like when that's being tested, there's expansive components to it. There's it coming in. There's ability to like feel the power and to feel the like feeling of being on top of it all. And there's that feeling of being powerless. There's that feeling of being like, holy shit, I'm naked under a fluorescent light. And so this is it's hilarious because there's the spider actually crawling on my screen right as I start talking about Scorpio. And so this is the time of really allowing these things that we hold valuable, that we hold and put our worth into, and that we might be stuck in, because Venus is ruled by Taurus, so it has this tendency of potentially becoming stuck. And wherever we have that feeling of like, oh, I want to dig in, don't touch that, like that's too special, that's too sacred, or like, yeah, like everything else is fine territory, but don't touch that. Like those are the places that get touched in these kind of transits. And so this is a real, like I said, time to be honest, time to be super graceful with yourself and with your loved ones, and also a time of really paying attention to those business partners and those investments, and allowing the cycle, knowing that we're going through it, which might mean opportunities come, but we're also going retrograde right after that in October. So letting that play out and allowing whatever happens to potentially be stripped, potentially be deepened by the hot alchemical fire and cauldron that Scorpio offers us. And so with that, I invite us all to allow the power of Mars and Saturn and all of this, and this Grand Trine, all of this Virgoian Earth energy to like really give us a channel for those deep desires and longings, those deep Piscean dreams that we thought would never come down into existence, to like hold space for those powerful dreams to come through and be seeded into our reality, like be that portal. And as Venus moves into Scorpio, like tap into your ability to channel that kundalini power, that energy that controls sex, money, and power, and bring it into integrity. This is a time of like really collectively we're being asked to be in alignment with our power, alignment with our motives and intentions and our sexuality, and like bring it up in order to truly manifest the change that we're seeking to ground in.